In the first Monday Night Football game of 2018, the Bill Belichick coaching tree grew another branch as Matt Patricia made his debut at the head of the Detroit Lions. I'm Alex Barth. He's Evan Lazar from Gillette Stadium, Patricia's former place of employment. And now that he's out there, head coach, another Belichick disciple taking over a team. Not a great start.
No, I think that Belichick disciple did everything the opposite of what Bill Belichick would have done. Now, I'm not saying that Patricia purposely did that, but just the game itself, the details were just not there. I mean, from the very beginning, like bad snaps on kicks and bad punt coverages and Matthew Stafford throwing the ball all over the yard. That's definitely not a Belichick-type game for the Lions and Matt Patricia. But I do want to emphasize, it's one game. It's his very first game as a head coach. This is the classic week of overreaction.
It was against the New York Jets, a team he's familiar with and a team he's used as a punching bag time and time again in New England.
But this is the classic overreaction week, right? Things happen in the NFL week one. Everybody reacts one way. Do you remember last year when the Patriots lost to Kansas City right here at Gillette Stadium? And the reaction to that was just like the sky is falling in New England. This happens every week one, and you know what? I'm not saying that Patricia's going to go on and be a Hall of Fame coach from here, but like, let's just give the guy a little bit more than one game.
When you look at what he did last night, obviously people were unsure of his caliber as a defensive coordinator in New England based on what happened last year and knowing that Bill Belichick has a hand in things. People didn't necessarily know the difference he made. Is that picture any clearer? His legacy in New England, is it any clearer after what we saw last night?
I don't think it's really too fair to go backwards like that and say, okay, Matt Patricia's team got blown out on Monday Night Football. Now let's just, say that he's a bad defensive coordinator. But I will say this, Sam Darnold had a pretty great game for a rookie quarterback, and there was a lot of contested catches, a lot of catches that Robbie Anderson touchdown where Robbie Anderson just took it away from Tavon Wilson. Is that really on Matt Patricia? The scheme was there and not necessarily. I think the problem with Patricia that we saw last night is that the details just weren't there. The little things, the Lions did everything bad, and that is just not a good sign for a head coach, especially a guy that comes from the Belichick coaching tree, that you're supposed to kind of instill that detail-oriented style too.
And it showed especially on offense. 4 interceptions by Matt Stafford. Maybe some of that's Stafford, maybe some of that's the receivers, but Patricia clearly has to pick up the offensive side of the game. That's clearly something he's going to have to learn. What if he could take away one thing from last night? There's multiple things he needs to learn from last night, but offensively, if there's one takeaway for him last night, what is it?
I think he needs to make it easier on Stafford. Jim Bob Cooter was the offensive coordinator. It sounds to me like everything I've heard out of Detroit, it's pretty much Jim Bob Cooter's show on offense and the Matt Patricia show on defense, and then Patricia's kind of the CEO overseeing everything in general. But I do think that in order to get Matthew Stafford going, where were the easy passes to Golden Tate? We talked about Golden Tate a lot, about him coming here, and the whole MO is that you can throw this guy the ball behind the line of scrimmage and watch him run with it. We didn't see any of that really until later on in the game when it was too late, when Golden Tate had that long touchdown catch. So I think that there's little things like that you can make easier. They wanted to reinvent themselves on the ground. That didn't work out either offensively with LeGarrette Blount and Kerryon Johnson and those guys there now. So I think overall, offensively, it was a disaster, and I think Patricia is going to have to take the keys a little bit more than I think he wanted to originally.
When you have a tough game like that, especially week one, a new coach, does Patricia, and we've heard various things about how players are feeling about him, is there any element of winning back the locker room? Does Patricia now need to prove himself to his players after that performance?
I think that there's a lot of that going on in Detroit in general now. We're not there every single day, so I don't want to, theorize too much. But I will say this. I do think there's a lot of who is this guy? And, he was Bill Belichick's defensive coordinator. Bill Belichick's defense, this is Bill Belichick's defense here in New England. This is not Matt Patricia's defense. So I think there was a lot of kind of second guessing. He kind of came in there. He had this Belichick attitude of we're going to run them. We're going to punish them for doing things not the right way, not the Detroit Lions way. And that kind of has gotten into the faces of the players a little bit and kind of said to people, Matt Patricia, you need to prove yourself to us before you say that, you're going to hold us all accountable like you have been. So I think there is a little bit of that second guessing of whether or not Matt Patricia's the guy there in Detroit.
We'll get a much closer look at him in 2 weeks when the Patriots head to Detroit to take on Matt Patricia and the Lions. Of course, we'll have full coverage of all that. The game before it, of course, there's still the Jaguars. Everything, make sure you're following us on Twitter at PatriotsCLNS, and check us out online at clnsmedia.com. He's Evan Lazar. I'm Alex Barth from Gillette Stadium for CLNS.